Hey guys, it's me, Buster Green, coming back around today with my second review of the second volume of the newest Gundam game currently available on PS5, Gundam Code Fairy Volume 2. So to recap how we got here, Code Fairy is a hybrid anime series slash video game series about a Zeon Girls Special Forces unit squatting in an abandoned mansion somewhere in the central western United States, maybe somewhere around Utah. In Volume 1, the girls moved into the mansion and got to know each other while growing as an elite Zaku mobile suit team. The girls were having a pretty fluffy and cushy life as an invasive army conquering and occupying the United States of America. They were making cupcakes, they were trick-or-treating, they were tickling each other in the boobs, but all that started going downhill when Mikuve lost at Odessa, cutting off their budget. So Mia, the Team Brainiac, decided that they would salvage the Hildorfer, the mobile armor tank thing from Mobile Suit Gundam Igloo. But then a crazy cyber new type bitch named Lilith showed up and dedicated her life to killing them. Now, despite having several chances to kill her back, they let her live, and so eventually she came back with a full-powered Gundam Pixie and nearly killed everyone. Now, this was reflected in the game as well as pretty much all the missions that were really easy until the end of the game. Lilith and the Pixie showed up, and then it was a huge headache. So the Pixie fight at the end of Volume 1 was on such a different level of hardness that it definitely awakened something in me as a player, and for Alma Sterner, the main character of the anime, it put her into a coma. And then she woke up from it with really bad PTSD. So the happy spirit and the confidence she had in Volume 1 is broken this time around. In Volume 2, you get a much bigger focus on Alma's two minions, Helena Hegel, the alternative rock sniper bitch, and the adorable genius Mia Brickman, my favorite girl of the game. Now, if you're completely unfamiliar with this game, I'm going to strongly suggest you stop watching this video and watch my first review video where I covered Volume 1 and I explained and I introduced it without any spoilers. Because this time around in this video, I'm going to just be hardcore spoiling this one hard all the way through, explaining what happened in my playthrough. There's not legitly a reason for you guys to play the second volume if you didn't play the first. And on top of that, I'm not even sure if that's technically feasibly possible. I'd be really curious about if that was the case, but theoretically, even if it was, I think you'd have a very difficult time playing through Volume 2 without the stats and the items that you collected in Volume 1. So with that out of the way, let's go into Code Fairy Volume 2. Episode 6 started off nice and easy. Episode 6 was a weird and completely different mission. In Episode 6, Alma is still in her coma, so Mia has fully dedicated herself to salvaging the Hildorfer. And as a result of them being both out of action, we play as Helena alone on a solo mission in a frontline situation where we bid a fond final adieu in a send-off mission for her extremely rare Zaku 2 sniper type. So her Zaku 2 sniper type gets put up on a crane and it supports some standard average Zeon soldiers as they're pulling out of a coastal California city. Now Episode 6 though is some really easy shit. It's pretty much just a shooting gallery. It's one of those stages where if you have the slightest bit of a pulse, you're gonna win. Helena just sits up in her crow's nest shooting GMs, and she ends up rescuing a Zeon Zaku cannon ace pilot who has this really weird kind of race car looking Zaku cannon. Anyway, the two of them have some minor chemistry, and it seems like he wants to either fuck her or take her under his wing as a full-time sniper, but she is loyal to the fairy, so she doesn't go with him. Anyway, meanwhile, Alma gets out of her coma, but she's still not feeling great, so we stick the focus on Helena for a bit. And then we get to Episode 7. Episode 7 is an unforgiving nightmare. Episode 7 is the episode of this game that I played the most out of any episode thus far in both volumes. It is singularly the hardest mission in the entire game so far, and it messed me up so much that I actually stopped the episode and I went to do some side missions, which is apparently how you unlock additional mobile suits and additional power-up items for your team. That's something I didn't notice in the first game because the first game was honestly so easy that it never came up. I only played a few of these side missions, but once I felt I couldn't beat any of the others because they actually got really hard, I went back to the main story. So the main stupid reason that Episode 7 was so hard is that this game uses the stupid freaking Gundam Battle Operation 2 engine. And the big problem, the big weakness of Gundam Battle Operation 2 is that Gundam Battle Operation 2 was designed as a team multiplayer game. And because of that, if there was ever a team of extremely well coordinated players, they could gang up on a single unit and easily kill it. Because the thing of it is, Battle Operation relies on this kind of slow gun reload speed to to keep things fair, but if a series of completely coordinated, perfect players shoots all of their guns at a single enemy with perfect coordination, they can work around that slow reload time to trap an enemy in an infinite stun lock, infinite damage combo. Anyway, so episode 7 is a really mundane piece of crap mission where Helena gets awarded with a vanilla Ifrit since Alma is still in heavy PTSD mode. But because Helena is a sniper, the melee-centric Ifrit is really not her cup of tea. On top of that, the Ifrit is just not strong outside of its melee ability and its ability to create a smoke screen. So episode 7 ends up being a complete trash mission. It's just Helena using her Ifrit to blow up some trucks like before they cross a border, and that's not anything significant. She has Mia's Dom backing her up, but Alma's still out of operation. And I'm realizing that anytime you only have one of the girls instead of two, it really throws off the game's flow. Come to think of it, episode 5 in volume 1, Mia was away salvaging the Hodorfer, and suddenly the game got massively hard. It seems like any mission where you don't have all 3 of the girls at all times, you're just instantly stuck in a massive handicap situation playing against you. Anyway, so I got so pissed in this mission because even after I did like hours of training, I still couldn't deal with the army of mobile suits that show up at the end of this mission. I eventually got through it by killing off the GM strikers first because I realized that they were the ones dealing the absolute most damage with their beam lances, and they were the ones killing me and Mia off. But I later realized that I was making a huge mistake because since there had been a gap of time between volume 1 and 2, I'd forgotten that you have to give Mia an order of how to behave. You have to tell her to behave either aggressively or defensively, because otherwise the game defaults her to be passive defensive, which means she will never attack unless she's been attacked first, which is a guaranteed recipe to make you lose, because you can't counterattack if the first attack kills you. So long story short, I spent the whole effing day this Sunday trying to beat episode 7, and I barely beat it after wasting my entire weekend. Now, I eventually beat it by just pure dumb luck, and it was really frustrating. So after that, I kept going and I did episode 8. In episode 8, Alma fully recovers and finally rejoins the team, but her Saku ground type has now gone from being the best unit on the team to extremely antiquated compared to Mia's Dom and Helena's A-Freight. Speaking of which, after such epic amounts of trash in episode 7, Helena finally recustomized her Ifrit into a sniper customized Ifrit Jaeger, which I really wish she had just done in episode 7 so it would have been easier. Anyway, episode 8 is set around the time that most Zeon soldiers pulled out of Earth and the war moved into space. But otherwise, it's a really easy peasy mission. Alma orders a new MS for the colonies, but they drop it to Earth in a heavy lift vehicle, which unfortunately gets intercepted during Earth re-entry and crash lands outside of Augusta, Georgia, which either because of climate change or because Japanese game developers don't know what Georgia looks like, resembles the Sahara Desert. Anyway, this mission was, again, super easy because the gang was all back together and the HLV gets attacked at a pretty slow and reasonable pace, and you have 3 girls so you can handle it. But at the end of the mission, the girls get attacked by a white Pale Rider custom wearing a king crown and a black EWAC GM unit that can turn invisible. Now, despite this being kind of freaky, this is actually a super easy battle. At least it was for me. So what I did is I just had all the girls dogpile on the White Rider, and the EWAC unit was surprisingly not dangerous at all, so we just ignored it. Once the White Rider was dead, the EWAC unit retreated without putting up a fight, so good on us, I guess. Now, after that, in episode 9, Mia finally finishes reconstituting the Dom and the Heldorfer that they combine together to make kind of a Zamel predecessor called the Dom Nomedes. The Dom Nomedes is essentially a Dom with a massive weapons trailer on it, but it is very similar in terms of power and attack style to the Zamel. Anyway, so in episode 9, you play as Mia and they let you test drive this thing, and it's hella OP. It can pretty much sniper anything on the battlefield, and if that fails, it can shred it to death with its really good Gatling guns. So episode 9 is really easy. There's a so-so boss battle at the end with a big tray land ship, but it's not even an issue. All you have to do is make sure that the GMs coming out of the big tray die immediately, and the big tray itself is basically a sitting duck. Eventually it just dies from all the girls pot-shying it, and it's really not any kind of a threat at all. Moving on to episode 10. Episode 10 is the final mission in volume 2, and going into this mission I was really dreading it, but in a nice change of pace, Alma finally gets over her PTSD, and she finally gets a new unit upgrade in the form of a prototype mobile suit called the Titania, which seems like an ultra high-speed focused Kampfer with the best parts of the Gelder Jaeger put onto it. The Titania is completely amazing, and by and large, it is the strongest unit in the game by a long shot. It makes quick work of the early parts of this mission with like no problems at all, and then the mission ends up in a one-on-one deathmatch showdown between Lilith's Gundam Pixie, which is now a red Gundam Pixie Custom, with a beam scythe. And despite the fact she was a total nightmare to deal with in episode 5, this time around she's a joke because you've got the Titania. The Titania is brutally strong, and even though she's had an upgrade too, the fact I don't have to worry about a parade of gun tanks killing Mia makes this a one-on-one battle, and even with all her upgrades, she was a total pushover. Not only did I kill her, but I killed her with time to spare, and I got full rewards and my best run of any mission in the game. So, yeah, shockingly easy. So, after all that, that's the end of Volume 2, but there's a few extra side stories. I didn't include this in my review of Volume 1. After Volume 1, there were 2 side stories where you played as Mia and Helena that were pretty much just quick extra missions. But in Volume 2, there's a random extra episode where Alma has to stop some GMs from finding the location of their mansion, so she has to kill them all before they escape. And then there's a really interesting mission where you actually play as the Federation Witch Hunt team, who have to kill a bunch of aquatic mobile suits like, you know, the Agai and the Zok and all those guys. Anyway, so that's Volume 2 in a nutshell. It's, once again, hard for me to review Volume 2 individually, but I was very welcome to the overall higher stakes in the story, and the fact that all the girls got really cool mobile suit upgrades. Mia and Helena were definitely the focus of this volume, since Alma was benched for the most part fighting with her PTSD. But I like that she had PTSD because it seemed realistic for what she'd been through, and I'm glad that the game actually gave her some stakes for, you know, the consequences of her actions. I definitely have to say that Volume 2 was much better than Volume 1, with the sole exception of that nightmare garbage mission Episode 7, which was just so hard and broken, in contrast to Episode 5, which was just hard because it was the end of the first volume and you had to fight a big, strong final boss. Now, excitingly, it looks like Volume 3 is going to start off right around Christmas in the final week of the One Year War, and by the looks of the preview, it seems to imply that the girls' mansion is finally going to get taken from them, so that's going to suck for them. But this really makes me wonder where the girls are going to end up after this. If the girls just retreat into space, they'd definitely be safer and probably have better lives. But I think there's a good chance that they might also stay on the Earth and become Xeon remnants. I'm kind of leaning that I think they're going to stay on the Earth because I want to think this is an Earth Gundam game. But at the same time, the GBO2 engine can do space too. So it would also be a little bit of a waste if they did never go up to space. So I just hope that nothing in high hell happens to Mia, because if they kill off Mia, I'm going to die inside, and that will really, really bum me out. Other than that, Code Fairy was a complete blast, and I'm glad I'm playing it. I'm really excited for the final volume and to see how the story wraps up. Alright, thank you guys. I was Buster Green, and I will be back in a week to play the last volume of Code Fairy. If you guys want to hear more about it, please subscribe, because I always do Gundam games. Alright, thank you guys. Later.